Hello, this is Jamie Margaret. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card. Let's get started. Okay, well, let's start by showing you the papers. I have the largest of the circle and the largest of the scalloped circles. This one is cut out of the In Good Taste. In Good Taste Designer Series paper. This is cut out of black. I have a piece of Pool Party, which is cut out from the second of the largest of the stitched rectangles. I have some scraps. I have a 1/4 inch by 3, I think it's 3 inches, 3.5 inches of white, a 1/2 inch by 3.5 inches of white. I have a scrap. I have just a scrap of old olive, another scrap of white to punch my daisies with. I have a 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 inch piece of the vanilla that I have run through the Hive 3D embossing folder. And then I have a card base, which is the vanilla, which is 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. And yes, I'm mixing the white and the vanilla because I want the white to pop. And doing that will do that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to my card. You can use either side of this. I chose to use with the bumpy side up. And I'm putting plenty of adhesive because it is very detailed. And there's just going to be a tiniest little border. Oops, I don't think I cut this right. It's alright, we'll make it work anyway. It's cut too narrow. Must be I cut it 3 3/7 instead of 4 1/8. It's alright, we're going to use it anyway. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and adhere this piece on there as well. Just a few less pieces on my desk then. I probably should have trimmed that to be a little shorter too, but that's alright, we're going to go with it. I definitely like it better this way, but that works. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Okay, the other things you're going to need is the daisy punch. This is the large one. The new bough punch. I've already shown you that I did use it. The Hive 3D embossing folder. I'm using the Honeybee Blooms dies and the Honeybee Homes stamp set because I'm using this bee. I'm using Boughs and Blossoms for the sentiment here, a little hello, and that's what the Boughs punch coordinates with. These are the dies. And this is the second from the largest, and these are the largest. Okay. Alright, so let's start. Let's stamp our bee first. Give that a second to dry. I'm using Memento ink for that. Make sure it's good and inked. I'm going to stamp it on this little scrap here. Okay. And then I'm going to, let's see, I use Pacific Point for this sentiment. Covered in cat hair and my hair. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this. Yeah, I got it. Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome. Set that aside for a minute. I'm done with the stamping. That's all the stamping in this one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this piece to my black layer. And I'm going to adhere that to the front of the card. It's pretty much centered in the center of this pool party piece. I'm using the Tombow Mono Multi Glue for all of my gluing, with the exception of the sentiment and the flower and the bee. And that I'll use my dimensionals for. Okay. Alright, now let's bring in this bough punch, and I need 3 of this one. So I'm going to come in, and it's kind of hard to get it. I'm going to come in from the edge. I'm going to punch one there. Come in here. Punch another one. And then let's see if we can get one from this side. Okay, I also got a couple of these. We'll put those aside and I'll use them on something else. Alright, now let's bring in the daisy punch. I need 1 daisy. Okay, I'm going to bring in my snips. And we need a 4 petals, so I'm going to cut from 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to just go ahead and cut over to those. So I got 4 petals. Okay, now I'm going to take these other side, and I'm going to line it up so that I get them to line up, so those other makes the second layer. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to cut off this 1 petal. Okay, and I'm going to take this 1 petal that's left, and I'm going to round off this end here. It's going to make my center. Oh, I've got orange in my nails. Okay, now before we assemble, we're going to do, let's do the flower first, I guess. Okay, I'm going to bring in my take your pick tool. I've put the stylus end in. It just, you see the little lock here? You just turn it to unlock it and it pulls out. And it's got 2 different ends. I'm going to use the bigger of the 2 ends. And I'm going to, on my Stampin' Pierce mat or a foam mat, mouse pad works fine, I'm just going to pull that down the 2 sides and then down the center. Basically it just is going to curl this petal a little bit. The bigger the ball, the better. You can just do it right down the center too. And I'm just running it back and forth. See how it adds the dimension. So I'm going to do that to all of these petals here. This last one I'm not going to do. Okay. Okay, awesome. And I want to move this out of the way for a minute. I'm bringing this little piece that we cut the corner off of. And I'm going to bring in a Daffodil Delight colored pencil. And I'm going to, let's see, there's a, I want this side up. And I'm going to scribble on some colored pencil. I'm doing it more on one end and across the top or the bottom, whichever one, doesn't really matter, because you're going to color the whole thing. Then I'm going to bring in my blender pen and I want to scrap paper, just make sure it's running clean. I'm going to just blend out that Daffodil Delight. It's going to fill in the rest of that and blend out those colored pencil lines. Okay, so that's my center of my flower. Then I'm just going to come over here to my scrap paper and I'm going to rub it off till it runs clear. Okay, now I'm going to come in with a pair of tweezers. I prefer the ones with the curved end, but that's just because that's what I got used to. Use whatever works for you. And on these leaves, I'm going to pinch the leaf with my tweezers. I'm going to grab it with my thumb and my forefinger and I'm going to twist. And that's going to add dimension to those leaves. I'm going to do that to all three of those leaves. Just gives them a little something. Now if you inked on, put some ink on them as well, use Pacific Point ink on them, that would be pretty too. But I'm just doing them this color for this. Again, I'm going to pinch them with the tweezers. I'm going to put my finger and my thumb, one on each side, and I'm just going to twist. Just want to be careful you don't twist too hard that you tear the paper. But you want to twist enough so that you get some dimension in them. Another way you can do it is just by taking your tweezers or just pressing into it like that, into the foam mat. But that doesn't give quite as much dimension. See the difference? So I like this one better. Okay, we've got all of our pieces prepped and ready. So let's go ahead and assemble. Okay, so for the daisy, we're going to take the 4-petal one. We're going to put a little bit of glue here in the center. We're going to take the 3-petal one and we're going to put that over the top so that we have those petals filling in those spaces. And we're going to take this yellow one that we did. I'm going to put a little bit of glue towards the top there. This is going to be the top of our flower, or the colored part of the flower. Okay, we're going to turn that over. I'm going to put a couple dimensionals on the back here. And I'm trying to overlap that little yellow piece so that it helps hold it on. Okay, so that's the flower part. Now let's do the bee. I'm going to take that yellow pencil and I'm going to color in every other spot of the bee. I'm going to put it, actually I'm going to cover the whole thing. Body, and then I'm going to come in with a basic black. I'm going to add some basic black to the center fuzzy part here. I probably got the colors backwards, so I'm going to add some to this head and this next stripe here. Okay, then I'm going to come in with a Bermuda Bay. I'm going to do this wing here. Okay, now I'm going to come in with that blender pen, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the yellow first. Oops, I went over the black so it dulled it, but you don't want to do that. Come back with some more yellow there so it's definitely yellow and not black, but okay. And scribble off. Do the wings. It's tiny, you wouldn't have to blend it out. And then I'm going to come in with Wink of Stella. I'm going to put Wink of Stella on his wings. And I'm going to put Wink of Stella on the center of this daisy. Okay, now I'm going to get the die that matches, and I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine. Line that up, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. I got my bee cut out. One came out perfectly. Alright, now I'm going to put a dimensional on the back of his body. I think that's all I need. Alright, and we're going to bring this piece in. I'll get some ink there. I don't want to get on my card. Alright, so I'm going to take two of these. I'm going to put one going up towards the top and one going down here like this as the stem. Then I'm going to take the third one and it's going to go over here like that. Okay, I'm going to take the backs off of the daisy. Oops. Don't stick, please. Okay, and I want the yellow part to go towards the top. I'm going to center this. I'm going to move this one. I'm going to center this here like this. And stick it down. That's going to adhere those two stems. I'm going to lift this up and add a little bit more underneath there. I don't really need to because the sentiment will tack it down, but okay. And this stem, I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the back of. Which way do I want it? I guess it doesn't make much difference. And little dots will do ya. You don't need anything big, just little dabs. And glue this one down over here. Decide whether you want it to go under or on top of the flower. We're going to add the bee. Okay, our little hello. We're going to take the wider of the white strips. We're going to cut a fishtail in the okay. This one, we're going to cut it closer to the O. We're going to do a fishtail there as well, just not quite as big a one. So you cut your slit from the center in a little ways, and you cut from the corner to the bottom of the slit you cut. Okay, this is going to get adhered to this one just with the wet glue. You want those fishtails to be like that, a little bit off from each other. Well, this one's too deep, so I'm going to shallow these up a little so they match more. That's better. Okay, Let's put some dimensionals on the back of this. One more. This is going to go across here. It'll anchor down the bottom of those leaves, and it'll add our sentiment to the card. Okay. And then I have a little bow that I tied with the black gingham ribbon. Bring in a glue dot for that. And I want this to go over here. I'm going to make this a little shorter. I don't like the way that sticks out. That's better. Okay. And put our bow on. And then I'm going to bring in holiday rhinestones. And I'm going to use this light blue-green color. I'm going to put a big one down here, a middle one right next to it, and then a small one up here towards the top. There we go. There's the card we just made together. Here's the one I did previously. Well, thank you for joining me today at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.